So there's been a new version of Bricks Builder released today, and one of the features that I'm really liking inside it is a new feature called interactions. Here we are logged into Bricks Builder, and when I click on an element now, we have this new option up here in between conditions and the search where you search for elements. So if I click into this interactions tab, you can see that I've set up some here in this demo design where if somebody for this column, when they click on the column, I'm going to hide an element that has a CSS class image. We can do a lot of other things here like on click, on hover, on focus, show element, hide element, add attribute, etc., etc. So here's what we're going to set out to achieve by the end of today's video. So we're going to recreate this entire design from scratch inside Bricks Builder. Then we're going to go ahead and recreate this functionality where we have 4 different tabs up the top of our website. And when we click on one of the tabs, we're going to change the background color of the bubble up the top and also change the image. So you can see this one's blue and this one is blue here. If I click over here, the image changes and we update the color of the bubble. If I go to number 3, this is a lighter blue, the image changes. And if I click on the 4th one, this is a darker blue and the image changes. And this is all made possible by this new interactions feature where we click up here and we can assign that on click, something happens on the page. We'll also look at designing the mobile version. So as we go down, it's going to change to this, which makes a bit more sense for a mobile layout. And we'll also touch on some more advanced features inside of Bricks Builder. For example, I've been playing around with trying the mobile first breakpoint layouts inside of Bricks Builder. So if we have a look here, my base is actually my mobile, not the desktop that you're probably normally seeing. So I go through how that works to see if you want to have a go at playing around with that for yourself. And then we also write a little bit of CSS here, which is basically what we're going to use to set the color of these bubbles when we click on the item here and use the power of the interactions element inside of Bricks Builder. So we have a lot to cover here. I've condensed it as much as I possibly can, and I do try and focus the majority of today's video on this new interactions feature. So let's get in, let's design this page and then move into the fun stuff. Now, something very important that I need to mention before we jump in and build this website using Bricks Builder is that I've recently been trying to better my CSS skills and then also become a better front-end designer and developer. As part of that, I've been wanting to choose a CSS framework, and the one that I've been playing around with recently is one called Tailwind. So if you go to tailwindcss.com and scroll down, you can get an idea of how it would work. If you go up and click on docs, you'll see that on the left-hand side, we have a list of all these different things. So for example, if I go text color here and click on it there, you can see that for the text color, we have all these CSS classes here. And when you apply this CSS class, for example, text-red-500, when you add that to an element, that element actually gets its font color changed to this RGB value. If we go down to something like margin here, you can see there's predefined CSS classes for margin. So for example, this one here, MX auto, is margin on the X-axis, which is your left and right, set it to auto. So if you add this CSS class to an element, MX-auto, that automatically sets its margin left to auto, margin right to auto, which centers it. So in regards to Tailwind CSS, it's a list of predefined CSS classes that you can assign to elements. And when you assign those classes, it styles the element and builds the element there using the classes from Tailwind. Now, the reason that I went out looking for a CSS framework is that I just want to build better websites that are more consistent. And the reason that I chose Tailwind is that it's basically an industry standard. It's used on a lot of websites, and there's a lot of softwares out there that use them, big softwares. And it's basically, I just feel like it's going to be, I could use this outside of the WordPress ecosystem if I ever wanted to use it for another project. Now, today's video is all about Bricks Builder and the interactions feature. So I'm not going to go through exactly how this works, but if you aren't using a CSS framework currently and you want to learn more how to build websites that are more consistent in how they look and how they feel and have better naming conventions for when you're building a website, then I think you'll find this next part interesting when I jump in and start using Tailwind to build the design today. So now let's get into designing our page. So I'm going to go to pages, all pages, and I'll click add new, and I'll call this Bricks Interactions Videos. So I'll save that and publish, and then I'll go edit with Bricks. So now we're in Bricks Builder. Now you might notice that it's opened up on the mobile design here. One thing that I've also been playing around with in Bricks Builder and Tailwind is trying to do the mobile first design. I'm not going to touch on that in today's video. We're going to basically from here on just focus on this interactions feature that Bricks Builder just released, but I will look at covering this in an upcoming video. So look out for that one. But for now, let's go up to the desktop and let's start designing this page. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to add a div. So add that and we'll add another one. So let's just call this the section, and then this can be the inner wrap. So we'll pull that under it there. And then in that wrap, we'll add some more divs. So I'll just add a few of these like that. And this we're going to call tabs. So I'll drag into there to create our columns like that. Now I'm going to call this col1, col2, col3, and col4. And then up here on the tabs container, what you'd normally do in Bricks Builder is this would be set to display flex. And then you just go over to here and make them sit next to each other in a row. But we're not going to do that. We're not going to be using the brick settings again because we're using Tailwind. So with this selected here, let's go up. And then for medium devices, we'll do grid cols4, which means the medium devices and up will be put into 4 columns. So I'll go and do that and we'll get out of that. So now we need to pull these in. So we'll go up to the wrap and then up here, we'll set our max width to be 5XL and press enter. So that pulls it in. And then we also want to pull them into MX auto, which is margin left and right auto. So now they're like that. So you can sort of get an idea of how Tailwind works. You're adding CSS classes over here that are styling everything. Now coming back to each column, we need this bubble here, the heading, and some text. So I'm going to go up here and go basic text. We'll add that. And then we'll add some more basic text and then a heading and we'll add that. Now I'll just reorder these and we'll call this bubble. And this is going to be the heading and this will be the description. And then the bubble here is going to say info product and this will say primer. And then I'll paste some text into there. And then up here, let's add some padding. So I'll go padding on the Y axis and we'll do something like 10. And then padding on the X axis, we could do something like 6. So then if we go to the mobile version, we have a bit of spacing on the sides. So I'll go back. So now let's make this text a little bit smaller. So I'll say text and it's going to be small and press enter. That scales down. And we also want to increase the line height. So I'll do leading and we'll do 6. That spaces it out. So now let's space these elements out. So I can go up here to this column and we can go space on the Y axis. Still too much. Whoa, did you hear that thunder? So let's try space, Y, and 2. And I think that looks pretty good. If you're wondering what the 2 represents, a 4 represents 1 rem. So a 2 would be half a rem. And if my base font size for this design is set at 16 pixels, then a 2 would be 8 pixels. And a 4 would be 16 pixels or 1 rem. So that's basically what that's doing there. And if you ever want to double check, we could save this and then preview this on the front end. And then we could right click and inspect element. And then we could go up to here and then go to the computer tab in Chrome, go down. And then if we go down, you can see the margin top is 8. Again, it's half of 1 rem and 1 rem is 16. So I'll get out of that and we'll go back and let's keep going. So I probably want to scale down this heading as well. So we'll go text large. We'll try that. That's a bit too small. We can go text to 2XL. I think that's a bit better. Now for this here, we want to make this bold. So we'll go font bold and enter. And then let's give it a background. So background and then the slate color. And we could do 100. So it's a shade 100, which is quite light. Now let's add some padding. So top and bottom will go 1. And on the left and right, we'll go 3. And then let's scale down the font size to text small. So let's space out these columns a little bit. So I'll click on the parent tabs. And then here we'll add a gap because it's a grid. So we'll do gap on the X-axis. And it will be 10. So that's 2.5 rems. Because remember, 1 rem is 4, which is 16 pixels. So I'll go enter. And now we have that spacing. Now I don't want the bubble going 100%. So I'll come down here and I'll change that to display inline. So I'll just type inline like that. And then let's give it some rounded corners. So we'll do rounded and then extra large and do that. So now you can see that has rounded it. It'll be a bit more evident when we start applying the active color here to the bubbles, for example, blue. So I hope you guys can see that gray. I know it's very light. So now that that's done, let's go ahead and we're just going to duplicate this column. So I will delete these ones here and then we'll just duplicate. So I'll go duplicate and we can go Command Shift D, Command Shift D, Command Shift D like that. So with that done, we also want to pay attention to the mobile designs. So if we go through these and go down, so you can see that it collapses to 1 column here on the small breakpoint. And that's because if we go back to our tabs here, I have MD cols 4. So Tailwind is a mobile first CSS framework. So you can see by default, it is a grid and it's one column, which is what we're seeing here. But as it goes up and reaches the medium breakpoint, we turn the grid into 4 columns. So the small, that's why it's still one column, which is the dot grid. And as we go up to the medium, so if I click on this, it should go to 4 columns. And then everything above medium is 4 columns. So if we go to the mobile here, you can see that we need some spacing between these columns. So here on our tabs, if I just collapse that just so it's a bit easier. So here on our tabs where we have those 4 columns, we had some X gap, but now we need some Y gap. So Y axis gap. So if I go gap Y and we do 16 and press enter, you can see that pushes them down there. And then as we go up the breakpoints and go to the 4 columns, it doesn't apply because there's nothing under it. So there's nothing to space out. And this is where the X gap takes effect. So X gap 10 and then up and up like that. Oh, and I just noticed we didn't change the color of these. So I'll just click on this and we'll do, so text slate 500 and I'll just copy that. So you can see that changed. And then I'm just going to put it on this as well. So we'll do that and enter this one as well. And finally this one as well. So now let's go ahead and do this images section. So coming back here in the wrap, we'll go and right click and go insert div. And then I'll call this images. And then in here, we'll add our 4 images. So I'll go up and go image and add that. And then click into here, select image. So there it is there. And I'll go insert and I'll just call this image 1. And I'm just going to clone this and then I'll just update each of the images. So this is image number 2. And actually this is the wrong image. This should be this one here. And we'll go insert. So image 1, image 2, and then image 3 will change. And it'll be this one there. And we'll go insert. And then image 4 will change. And we'll go this one here and go insert. So I'll just rename these because it's good practice after all. So up here we have our tabs and then under here we have the 4 images. So on page load, we only want to show this first image. So I'm going to go to image 2 and I'm going to add the hidden class. So hidden and press enter. And that's going to hide it. And then here as well, and I'll just copy from there, enter. And this hidden class is a Tailwind CSS class. So it's coming in with the framework. And then here we'll go and apply hidden there as well. And now we just have that one image. And then let's space out the image from the tabs. So I'll go to the container for the images and we'll go padding top and let's try 10. So that looks good. So I'm going to edit the text here to match here. So podcast documentation SAS like that. And then I'll just name these. So syntax salient. So that wraps up designing this page here inside of Bricks Builder. That gives you an idea of how Tailwind works. If you are looking for a CSS framework and what I showed you here today is quite interesting, definitely consider subscribing because I am going to be putting out a lot more content around it. I really feel like it's just so fun to design using the things that we have available to us today. And I feel like an artist. I don't know how to explain it, but you feel like you're painting the page when you're using something like Tailwind. If you want to give it a go, you do need a plugin to integrate Tailwind into WordPress so you have access to the CSS classes here. So when you type the CSS class up here, it applies. And I'm going to leave a link to that plugin in the description below. It's very easy to set up. You install it and then you have access to the classes here. It works really, really well. There's documentation, but I'll leave that as the first link in the description below if you did want to try it and test it out. So now moving to today's video on Bricks Builder and interactions. So up here, the logic is going to be as follows. When the page loads, we're going to set this column here to be the active column, and we're going to set the first image to show. If we click on another column, so if we click on this column here, column 2, we will hide the first image and we will show the second image. If we click on column 3, we'll hide all the images and then show the third image. So the thing to take away with the images is whenever we click on one of these columns, we will hide all the images and then we will show only the related image. So we're hiding and then showing one, hiding all of them, showing one. And that's the same with the tabs up here. When we click on a column, we're going to set all the columns to inactive and then the one that we clicked on will be set to active. And this is all possible from the new feature called interactions in Bricks Builder. So as you know, this image 2, 3, and 4, we've added the CSS class hidden. So they're display none. So let's go ahead and when we click on another tab here, let's hide all the images and then show only that image that is related to the tab that we clicked on. So to do that, we need to do the following. We need to give each of these images a class. So I'll click on image 1 and up here, I'll just call this image and press enter. and we're going to apply that class to all of these. So image 2 will go image 3 will apply that same class, and then image 4 we will apply that same class again. Then let's go to column 1 up here, and we're going to click on the interactions up here. So I'll click on that, and now we're ready to start building our first rule. So we'll click add, and we want to make it so that when we click on this, so the trigger is going to be click, the action is going to be hide element, and we're going to target a CSS selector, and this is going to be our .image class. So when we click on this, we're going to hide everything that has the .image class, which is going to be these 4 images here. So all of them get hidden out of the box. But then we need to add a new interaction, and we'll go down, and also on that click. So once we do this, on click, we will come down here, and we're going to show element, and then here we'll go CSS selector, and now we need to show a specific CSS class. So we need to go and add a CSS class to this image here so that only this can be shown. So I'm going to click on image 1, and I'm going to click back here, and we're going to add a new class, and I'm going to say image-1, press enter, and I'm going to do the same for all the other images. So image 2 is going to get an image-2 class, and then image 3 will get the image-3 class, and image 4 will get the image-4 class. So coming back to our col 1, and you can also see there's a new icon that shows there's an interaction. If I click on this, we're back in interactions, and we'll go down. So again, when we click on this, we're going to hide all of the images because they all have this one class, and then we're going to show only that image or only that element that has the .image1 class. So that's the first one set up here. Now on page load, this image is the only one showing. So we're not going to see anything just yet. So we need to go and do this again for column number 2. So I'll click on col 2, and then we'll go under here, interactions, we'll go add, and then here on click, we're going to hide elements that have the CSS selector .image. So hide all 4 images and then add a new. And then also on click, after this has occurred, we are going to go down here and we're going to show image with the CSS selector .image2, which is related to this column here. So let's go ahead and save this and then preview this on the front end. So now if I click on col 1, obviously nothing's going to happen. And if I click on col 2, that first image hides and image 2 shows. Now image 2 isn't showing on the page, but look at this. If I go back to number 1 and then I go back to number 2, now it's showing. What's happening? What's happening is that when we load the page, I'll just reload, the page loads, and then if I click on image number 2, lazy loading hasn't triggered. So it's still hiding that image, waiting for it to trigger to load the image. So what we need to do is just set the images within these tabs to not lazy load. And it's very simple. We go back into Bricks Builder, and image number 1, that can lazy load because that's just going to be the first one there. But for the rest, we will disable lazy load. So I'll click on image number 2. And to do that, we go up to here, and then we go to the style tab, and then under attributes, we want to add an attribute, and the name is going to be the loading attribute, and the value is going to be eager. These are just standard lazy loading things. We're telling it not to lazy load this particular image, and we're going to go ahead and do that on these other 2 images here. So image number 3, we'll go add attribute loading eager, and then image number 4, we'll add attribute and we'll go loading, and we'll type eager as well. So I'll save this, and then back on the front end, now if we click on the second column, the image is showing there. So now we have this working. We can toggle backwards and forwards. So remember, this is all because of the interactions feature that's here in this beta version. Now let's go ahead and just finish off doing that for these 2 columns at the end here. So I'll go back and I'll collapse I'll just rename these, sorry. So col 2, this is going to be col 3, and this is going to be col 4. And so I'll click on col 3 and we'll go to interactions. And I'll tell you what, it would be very nice to be able to copy and paste the interactions between elements. Even just doing this, I can just see that would be so valuable. So let's go ahead and click add. So the trigger is going to be when we click on this, we want to hide all the elements with the CSS class.image, and then we'll add, and then down here, we will go on click. We also then want to show the element with the CSS class.image3, and make sure you're doing the dot for the classes here. It won't work if you just write image 3. I made that mistake to start. You just want to make sure you add that. And then we'll go to col 4 and we'll do the same. So here we'll go click, and then we'll go hide element, CSS selector, selector.image, and then we'll add a new one, and we'll go down and we'll go click and we'll go show element with the CSS selector.image 4. So I'll save this. Now back in Bricks, let's reload, and then 1, obviously that's not going to do anything. 2, that changes. 3, that changes, and then 4, that changes as well. Now we also want to change the cursor here because you wouldn't know that you could click on these. So in Bricks Builder, and I think this feature also that we're about to look at is a new feature inside this beta version as well. So you need to have this later beta version to be able to do this next thing. So if we go to col1, if we search up here and we search for cursor, you can see if I click here, we have the pointer status. So when we hover on this, it will change our cursor to a pointer. So I'll go ahead and do pointer here and I'll go save. So now if we come back and reload, when I hover on that, we get the hand, the cursor, the pointer, and now I know that I can click on that. Now with anyone that's using Tailwind or is playing around with the mobile first layout settings for breakpoints here inside Bricks Builder, we set the cursor for the desktop and up. So if we go down to the medium, you can see the cursor is down to auto. So if I go back here and pull it into a medium layout, you can see that we've lost that cursor. So if you are using a mobile first design approach here in Bricks Builder, you don't want to set it for the desktop. We actually want to undo that and go back to where we have the 4 columns, which is here, and we want to set it from here and up. So I'll go pointer, and now that will apply to all the ones above it like that. And I'm going to do that down here for col2 as well. So I'll go down to pointer, and here we'll search for pointer, and this one col4 will go pointer as well. So I'll save that. And then back here, if we hover, we can see we get the cursor there. So we know that we can click on these, and that's all looking good. So coming back to our design that we're recreating, the last thing that we need to do is change this bubble color for the active item. So you can see if I click over to here, this goes pink to match the image. This goes blue. This goes a darker blue like that. So let's go ahead and set that up. And to do this as well, we're going to be using that new interactions feature inside of Bricks Builder. So you can see this new feature opens up so many possibilities. It allows you to do a lot of complex things that I'm finding without having to write any JavaScript and do any of that custom code. And I think this next one's pretty cool, and it uses some other features inside of Bricks Builder that you may not have played around with before. So the first thing related to the bubbles up here is that the first column here, the bubble inside it, should be lit up on page load because it's the default one. So to do that, we're going to click to edit col1, and we're going to apply a CSS class, and I'm going to call this active and press enter. Now this isn't a Tailwind class. I just created it myself, and I created it for the sole purpose of doing what we're about to do here, which is to be able to set each column as active when we click on it. So I'm going to get out of editing that class. And the next thing that we need to do is, like what we did with the images down here, we need to add unique CSS classes to the columns. So with col1 selected, I'm going to add another CSS class, and I'm going to call this tab-1 and press enter. And then I'll go to col2 and I'll do tab2, and then col3, I'll do tab3, and then col4, I'll do tab4. So now that each of these have unique CSS classes, let's go back to col1. And remember, on page load, this is set to have the active class as well. So to make this easier to follow along, what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to apply the active tab to all of these now so that we can style them, and then we'll remove them and then get to the next step. So let's go to col2. I'm going to apply the active tab here as well. Press enter, and then we'll go to col3 and we'll apply that one as well, and col4 and apply that one as well. Again, just so we can write our CSS and see what they look like when they're selected. So now that they've all got the active CSS class and they've all got unique CSS names like tab1, tab2, tab3, tab4, let's go up to their parent, which is the tabs container, and we're going to go here under style, and we're going to go down to the custom CSS and write some CSS in here. And we're going to use this feature here. Use root to target the element wrapper. And what this means is if we write root here, that is just going to get the ID of this container as the page renders, and then replace the ID of this container wherever the word root is. So we're basically saying root, and then we'll do .tab1.active, and we're going to set some CSS for this. And we're going to say when tab1 gets the active class applied, the background color is going to be this, which is a blue, and the font color is going to be white. So let's just save that. And actually, currently we're targeting the whole column here. So if we go back and reload, that's all lit up. We actually want to target just this child in here, the bubble. So let's go back, and in each of these columns for the bubble, let's go and give them a CSS class of bubble. So I'll go bubble here, enter, and then col2 as well. We'll do that for this bubble here. So bubble, and col3, we'll apply apply that same class, and col4 will apply that as well. So coming back to where we wrote our custom CSS and going down. So inside our tab column, which is the root. So when tab 1 has the active class inside there, the element with dot bubble, which is this one here, make its background color this blue and the color of the text white. So let's save this and we'll reload the page, and now that is lit up. And we're just going to do the same for all the 4 tabs. So I'll go and copy this. So paste, paste, and paste, and then just rename this. So tab 1, tab 2, tab 3. And with the design that we're looking at, tab 1 and 4 have the same color. So I'll just get rid of that there, and I'll just copy this, and then we'll change that to there. And this is going to be tab 4. So tab 1 and 4 get the blue with the white. Tab 2 is going to be this pink color. So I'll just paste in the hex code there. And tab 3 is going to be this lighter blue. So I'll paste that in there. So I'm going to save this, and I'm not sure why it's not applying. I'm just going to reload the page, and you can see now that's applying. And again, we need to be careful here if you are doing mobile first. We'll just come into here where we have our custom CSS down here, and we don't want to add it to this breakpoint. We want to add it to where we go up to the medium layout and get the columns. So here I'll paste it in there, and now it will apply on all the ones up, but not the ones under it. Because if you come back to the design that we're creating today and I pull it in, you can see what happens. I'm not sure if I showed you this, but it goes from 4 columns to like this, and the images are shown underneath there. So we will be setting that up today, but we don't want to have on these versions here where you can't click to show the image. We don't want to have this light up. So that's why we're doing the medium and above. So coming back to the medium, and we'll just stay at the medium breakpoint for now. And now that we've gone and customized what the active class is going to look like once it's applied to each of the columns, let's go back and remove it. So I'll go to col2, and then I'm just going to remove it from there. And then we'll go to col3 and remove it from there, and col4 and remove it from there. So only col1 has the active class on page load. And now we need to go and use our interactions to apply that active class when we click on each of these. So to do that, we'll start at col2 so that we can actually see that this works out of the box, and we'll come back and do col1 after do col2. So on col2, let's go back onto the interactions, and let's add a new one at the end. So we'll go down. So now we have our third one. And when we click on this column here, we want to go and then remove attribute, and we want to, from the classes, remove the CSS class active for all the items that have the CSS class. And we actually want to do .tab. So we want to remove the active CSS class from all of these, and then we will apply it to the one that we just clicked on. So we haven't actually added this tab class to these 4 here. So let's go to col1, and I'll go back here, and you can see it's not there. So I'll just quickly add that and press enter, and then col2, I'll press enter there. Col3, I'll press enter, and col4, I'll press enter. So now they all have a common CSS class. So we'll go back into our col2 interactions. You can also click over here to quickly open that, and we'll go to the bottom. So running through this again, when we click on this column here, we're going to remove from the CSS attribute, the CSS class active, from every item that has the CSS class tab, which is all of these. So when we click on this, it's going to look at all of these columns and remove the active class. So they're all set inactive. And then we want to add another one. So I'll go up and go add, and we'll go to the bottom, and here we'll go trigger. So on click, the action is going to be add attribute, and then we'll go for the class, and we'll make active, and it's going to be on itself. So when we click on this one, it applies the active CSS class to itself. So I'll go save. So now coming back to the front end on page load, if we right click and inspect element here, you can go down, and we can see that this one here, tab 1 has the active CSS class. Now if we click over here, I'll click, you can see now that has been removed. So it removed the active, and then down here it's added the active at the end there. And because this has the active class now, if we right click and have a look here and go down, tab 2 dot active. So when it has the active class, we've made it this style with the background pink color. So now that that's done, let's go back and just complete column 1. So coming back here, let's go to col1, and then let's go add interaction, and we'll go down, and this will be on click. We're going to remove from our classes active from everything that has the CSS class tab, and then we'll go add, and it'd be cool if we could collapse these. So we've got to keep scrolling up and down, and then here we'll go on click. We will add the attribute, and it's going to be to our classes. We will add active, and we'll set this to be for itself, and I'll go save. So back here, let's reload. So this loads on default. If we click over to here, that works. If we click back, that works. works. So now we have these two working. So let's go back and just do these last two columns here. So I'll click into here and then we'll go add and we'll go down. And then on click, we are going to remove attribute class active from everything that has a CSS class tab. And then we'll add, and this would be on click, we will add the attribute to classes active to itself. So I'll save and I'll reload. So we'll just click through these now. So these are all working as expected. And then on column 4, we'll go add, and then we'll just do exactly the same thing. So click, and this will be remove attribute class active from the ones with CSS class tab, and then add, and then here on click we are going to add the attribute class active to itself, and we'll go save, go back and refresh. So now if we go and click through any of these in any order, they get the styling and the functionality that we're after. So coming back here, the last thing that I want to show you guys is the mobile responsive version. So if we go to the mobile breakpoint, obviously it doesn't make sense to have the images load down there. So I'm going to go back to the desktop. So to handle that, in each column at the end, we're going to go and add a new image element. So I'll go up to here and go image, and then inside here, I'm going to go select image. I'm going to select our first image and go insert. And then for this image, we want to show it until we reach our tabs. So if we go to our base breakpoint, which is the mobile first layout of Tailwind, we can see that that is there. So that's looking as it should. We go up, and then the medium, this is where we want to hide it. So all we need to do that with Tailwind is we'll come up to here and we'll go medium, and then we'll go hidden and press enter. So now from our mobile, it shows, and then the medium and up, it is hidden. So now that we've done that, we just need to duplicate the image from here and pull it into each of the columns and change the image. So this one, I will adjust the image, and I will select this second image and go insert, and then I'll duplicate that as well. And then I'll drag that into the third column, and then I'll just edit that image, and I'll select it there and go insert, and then I'll duplicate this image as well. We'll drag that down here, and we'll select that one as well, which is this one here, and go insert. So now if we go back to our base, we can see that these are all looking as they should. And if we go up and up, when we reach our medium, it goes back to the tabs and they're all hidden, and that carries up as well. So now you can see those images aren't showing there, but as we go down and we get to say our base, they show. They only hide again from medium up, they're hidden. So as we go and reach our medium breakpoint and up, they hide there. So now the last thing to do is if we pull this in, this is all looking good for the mobile, but if we go down the bottom, we still have these images there that are for the desktop. For when we click the tabs, these change there. So let's go ahead and hide them. So back in Bricks Builder, we want to hide that area until the tabs show. So if I come back to the mobile and we go down to our images here at the bottom, I'm going to set this to be hidden like that. And they will be hidden for the default, the mobile, and then for the small. And then when we hit the medium and above for our tabs here, we will set this to medium block and press enter. And now it shows for medium and greater. So as we go through, it will show there. So I'll save that, reload the page here, and now this should be finished. So if we go through these, it changes the image and the bubbles all light up. So that's all working. And if we pull this in to the mobile, you can see now they are like that. So you can't click on this. They don't change color if you click on them. And if we scroll to the bottom, you can see those bottom images are hidden. So now it looks all neat and tidy. I'll pull that back out. So as you can see, this new feature inside of Bricks Builder called Interactions allows you to just create some really cool things inside of the builder. This is without having to write any custom JavaScript. It's point and click. And this was just an idea that I saw out in the real world. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I can go and recreate that with Interactions. I haven't even tried to think of any other possibilities. I'm sure there are endless ways that you could go and use this new feature. And I'm going to be looking at a lot of other different ways over the next couple of weeks because I really feel like there's a lot of potential here and it's unrealized right now because it's so brand new. So if you've thought of a really cool use case to use this Interactions feature, let me know in the comments below. I might even try and recreate it myself to get more experienced with it and just play around with it a bit more. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to check out this video here. I think you're going to like it. It is related to building a sales funnel using Bricks Builder, and I go more in depth with some of the features that you can use inside of Bricks Builder to build better websites and make more money with your website. So I'll see you guys in that video.